Daniel Cray and OMI to come for the opening prayer.
In case you didn't know, Ireland has been invaded many times. The Vikings founded Dublin, and they're trying to take it back again. They're sending planes from the Norwegian Airlines for $67 from New York. You have a chance to get on that plane. And if you save your money, you can also get politicians and news people can get a special Uber ride to the castle, the famous castle of, what's the name of it? Blarney, that's what it is. And if you don't make it in Ireland, you can always come home again. We'll put you to work right away. Anyway, welcome in the name of St. Patrick and all the holy people of Ireland. We're very, very grateful you come and support the charitable things that we do with this money that is raised, and we ask God's blessing on you. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, good St. Patrick gave us all a chance to serve each other. He himself had been a slave for 6 years and went back and freed the people of Ireland from their sins and from the slavery of heart. Give us freedom to love each other, and give us that sense of humor which invades the Irish heart and makes our eyes sparkling. May we learn to laugh at each other and laugh with each other, and most of all to laugh at ourselves. We're all human beings broken, and in that brokenness we find life and sharing and blessings. May you bless this food, that which is eaten and that which is yet to be eaten, and bless this company through Christ our Lord. Amen. Erin go brach.
Well, good evening, everyone. Please get comfortable. We hope this is going to be a wonderful evening. I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Lowell St. Patrick's Day dinner. And as many of you may know, the proceeds from tonight's event go to Pool, the cultural organization of Lowell. Pool supports the local artist community, brightens up public spaces, makes Lowell a lively and engaging place to live. And Pool is a driver of Lowell's robust cultural economy, and we're very, very proud to support Pool here tonight. And through its promotion of various museums, Pool helps tell the story of the Industrial Revolution and the city's early immigrant story through partnerships with the African Cultural Association, the Angkor Dance Troupe, the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, and many other local groups. It also tells the story of Lowell's more recent history as a city of immigrants. That ongoing story of Lowell as a city of immigrants and as the United States as a nation of immigrants has certainly been on my mind recently. And as we gather to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I'm reminded of the struggles our ancestors faced in coming to this new land. I thought I'd share with you a story about my own grandmother, Catherine Donahue, who came to this country when she was 15 years old. And I was lucky because when she was 92, someone recorded her story, a family member, of her whole life history. And I listened to that this week. And I thought I'd share a couple of the highlights with you. She left her homeland when she was 15, never to return again. She didn't see her mother or father ever again. And when I listened to her story through her lilting Irish brogue, after all the years she had spent in the country, some of the things she recalled most poignantly were those people who were kind to her on her way in her journey to come to this new land. She described them as Americans who she didn't know, that helped her get on a steamship in Cork, that helped her when she landed in New York City without a train to board that evening, and made sure she was taken care of and fed and lodged for the evening. She landed on May 1st, 1903, and during her interview on that recording, when she was asked, was she glad that she came to the United States all those many years ago? She didn't hesitate a moment. She exclaimed in her Irish brogue, oh yes, I love America. I have always loved America, and I always will. I am a true citizen, quote unquote. Our ancestors came here from all over the world. For a better life, they built this great city, they built this great commonwealth, and they built this great nation. So I'd like to propose a toast to all immigrants, Irish and otherwise, tonight, who made their way in this country and worked so hard in order that we could end up here where we are today. So let's just raise our glass. To all our ancestors. Cheers. I hope your drink was better than Kevin Murphy's and mine. So I'm delighted to be co-hosting here tonight with my good friend and colleague, City Manager Kevin Murphy. Oh, Governor, welcome. So glad, hi. So glad to see you. The Governor of Lowell. Back to Kevin Murphy. So, I'm delighted to be co-hosting. You know, Kevin is a true Irishman, and he celebrates what we call the high holiday, St. Patrick's Day, every year, wearing the green, drinking the green beer, eating green food. But he did confess to me the other day. He said, you know, I think I'm getting a little jaded. Come on. It was a warm-up. So Kevin's a lawyer, as you all know, and he's a great city manager, but he was a lawyer, and I thought I'd tell you about a story. A lawyer, a priest, and a young boy are on a plane, and the plane was going to crash. So there were only 2 parachutes on the plane. The lawyer jumped up and proclaimed that he was the smartest man on the plane, and therefore he deserved to survive. He grabbed a parachute, jumped out of the plane. The priest looked over at the young boy and reflected on his life, and he said to the young boy, you know, son, you take the parachute. I've lived a long and full life. You deserve it. The little boy replied, oh, that's okay, Father. You can have the other parachute. The smartest man on the plane just jumped out with my book bag. So, in his days as an attorney, Kevin had occasion to defend people, and he was defending someone accused of a crime one day, and as luck would have it, the forensic evidence came back, and he had to go meet with his client and give him the news. And so he said to his client, I've got some good news and some bad news. His client said to him, well, give me the bad news first. He goes, well, you know, your DNA is positively identified with the blood at the crime scene. I'm sorry to tell you. His client said, oh, geez. He goes, what was the good news? He goes, well, your cholesterol is 130. Without further ado, City Manager Kevin Murphy.
Thank you, Eileen, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone here this evening. Unfortunately, this is a bittersweet dinner tonight. My dear friend Tom Golden's mother recently passed away. Other than her children, Eileen Golden was most proud of her Irish heritage. I would ask all to join me in a moment of silence in memory of this gracious and wonderful Irish woman. May she rest in peace. I want to first thank Henry Marian, Toby Marks, and Roberto Day for coordinating this dinner. Imagine a Frenchman, a German, and an Italian put together a St. Patrick's Day dinner. But that's what Lowell is all about, diversity. We are probably the most diverse city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and yet we still get criticized. I just don't understand it. I recently read on Facebook questioning how the city could claim it was diverse when the city council meeting on Tuesday nights, the city manager's office is represented by Kevin Murphy, Michael McGovern, and Connor Baldwin. Well, we are diverse. We all come from 3 different counties in Ireland. All right. Murphy showed up at Mass one Sunday, and Father O'Brien almost fell down when he saw him. He'd never been to church in his life. After Mass, the priest caught up with him and said, Murphy, I'm so glad you decided to come to Mass. What made you come to Mass? Murphy said, I gotta be honest with you, Father. A while back I misplaced my hat, and I really loved that hat. I know that McGlynn had a hat just like mine, and I knew he came to church every Sunday. I also knew that he had to take off his hat during Mass, and figured he would leave it at the back of the church. So I was going to leave after communion and steal McGlynn's hat. The priest said, well, Murphy, I noticed you didn't steal McGlynn's hat. What changed your mind? Murphy replied, well, after I heard your sermon on the 10 Commandments, I decided that I didn't need to steal McGlynn's hat after all. With a tear in his eye, the priest gave Murphy a big smile and asked, after I talked about thou shalt not steal, you decided that you'd rather do without your hat than burn in hell? Murphy slowly shook his head and said, no, Father. After you talked about thou shalt not commit adultery, I remembered where I left my hat. To me, there is nothing more Irish than Irish step dancers. It's now my honor in my club. Oh, you can do that? There's nothing more Irish than Lenny Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're changing things up a little bit here tonight. Many of you will recognize Lenny Clark, critically acclaimed from the Rescue Me. I know what you're thinking, Rescue Me already, but honestly, his list of accomplishments goes on and on. But I know he is known and beloved to all of you. He not only has tremendous wit, but he also has a tremendous charitable giving. And we are so thankful that he's here tonight. He has many commitments, but he did make it here. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Lenny Clark.
Thank you, Senator. Oh my God, this is so exciting. And Charlie Peck, oh, what a night. Happy St. Patrick's Day. The Irish people, wonderful people. Two Irishmen walk out of a bar. It could happen. There was a fire in Lowell years ago. The place was burning to the ground. The firemen running in, they see this Irish guy sitting at a bar. And they said, how'd the fire start? He goes, I don't know, it was going when I got here. Just a couple little Irish jokes. I love the Irish. We're good people, the Irish. Not the smartest people, but the nicest people. Well, think about it. We were nearly wiped out. Our entire race was nearly wiped out by a potato famine. How stupid do you have to be to nearly lose your entire race to a potato? Ireland is an island surrounded by water. Did any of these dumb sons of bitches think of fishing? A little too close to home? It's okay. I'm Irish. I met the priest tonight, and they raised money to get an organ, and I love the priest. I was Catholic, I was a practicing Catholic, I should practice a bit more, but it was a wonderful priest. I never had trouble with the priest, I had trouble with the nuns. I don't know, are there any nuns here? For those who don't know what nuns are, I'm gonna go. Nuns were small, fat little women who never had sex, so they dressed up like penguins and beat the hell out of kids like me. What do you mean, cool? I went to see a movie March of the Penguins, I was having flashbacks. You know, we're sitting with the wonderful politicians, and I mean that wonderful. A lot of people hate politicians. They don't hate these politicians, because these people work, and they care about what they do, and they're not in it for the money. Christ, we're in Lowell. Now, what happened? Some of you get every joke. The rest of you are like dogs watching TV. You're having fun, but you're not sure why. I would have been a genius if it wasn't all the lead paint I had as a baby. But my mother would put me by that windowsill and say, chew, boy, chew. Watch the squirrels. That's two quick animal jokes I did off, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Not one of those people who have sex with animals. There's a word, what do they call it when you have sex with animals? What's that called? Yeah, tell me more about that, man. No, I don't. I've never had sex with an animal in my life. But if I did, I'd have sex with a horse. That way, when you're done, you get a ride home. And I point out that all the comments made by me do not reflect on any of the politicians on the stage up here. I can tell you what, I got a great senator, great city council, city manager. When I was a kid in school, working my way through college, I was a janitor in City Hall in Cambridge. And I actually ran for mayor of Cambridge, and I almost won. Because Cambridge runs by proportional representation, so that means everyone in the race gets a vote. Now, there were 36 people in running for the city council, and I came in 15, and the top 9 got elected. So I figured if I could fool an entire city, the other 8 people wouldn't be that much for time. But I ran on the platform that I was going to clean up City Hall. And I lost the election, but I kept my word. And after that, try to keep up. Some of you When I lost the election, they had told me if I ran, there's a good chance I'd lose my job. And I was a janitor in City Hall, and I liked it. And I had a fun time. And then when I lost the election, they put me cleaning garbage trucks from the inside out. And I hated it. Yeah, and they would start the engine when I was in there. And, yeah, it kind of sucked. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. My good friend Bob Gilly, who was the city manager in Cambridge for 32 years, and involved. Yeah, he's a terrific guy. I went up there and said, Bob, I said, I got to get out of the garbage trucks. And he said, will you ever run again? I'll never run again. He goes, you're back as a janitor. So I appreciate it. But you know what? They were good call. Like, we have Governor Charlie Baker with us tonight, who's the most popular governor in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. I know, Democrat, Republican, hey, vote the guy, not the party. This guy, we're lucky to have this guy. This guy was doing well on his own in private industry, but he loves the state. He wanted a better place for his wife and family, and he works like hell. I mean, this is the type of guy who, when he has a snow emergency, he declares it, Governor, we have to have a snow emergency. What time do you want everyone off the road? How about midnight? Sounds good to me. We had a governor before him. Little guy. Devil, I think was his name. We had a snow emergency. He said, oh, it's going to be a big storm. It's going to be a big storm. Not like the other one yesterday. It was 6 inches. A big, big storm. And I'm declaring a snow emergency. And he got on TV and said, I want all of you people off the road tomorrow by 4 p.m. Now, most of us work till 5, so we're screwed already. That's right. If you're on the road after 4 o'clock, we're going to put you in jail for a year and fine you $2,000. Now, I'm smoking a joint with my cat on the couch. And I said, who is this guy and where the hell is he from? New England is. But that's what we do when it snows. We get all whacked out and drive around in it. That's what we do. If you're on the road after 4 o'clock, do not go to Stop and Shop. Do not go to Market Basket, which is the Spanish Stop and Shop. Some of you are laughing against your will. You little bastards. I don't care. I tried. Yeah, I did. But good God Almighty, I can see it now. Getting pulled over. I was driving around. 4 o'clock, I started the truck up. I was driving. I was looking. I wanted to see a state trooper. God, pull me over. Pull me over. I want to go to jail with rapists, murderers, killers, thieves. Say, Lenny, what are you in for? Snow ban. You know, spring is like what? Tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. I tell you what. You know, they say that the last thing that Barack Hussein Obama led before he left the office was our biggest problem facing us in the immediate future is global warming. And I said, Mr. President, have you been watching TV? I mean, come on. We have ISIS chopping people's heads off. We have Russia on the verge of nuclear war. 776,000 unaccompanied minors sneaking across the border every day. And I'm saying, hey, if you let your kids go to a playground during the day and you're not with them in this state, you're going to jail. Who's running the border? I was in Harvard Square the other day, got a cup of coffee at Dunkin's, came out 30 seconds later, $50 parking ticket. Why don't we take the meter maids from Harvard Square, put them at the border? Nobody said that. Global warming, are you out of your mind? We had a good summer. We had the best summer of our lives this year. We actually had people with tans. We had a snowstorm yesterday. Get off, get your milk, get your butter. It's going to be horrible. We don't even get. We had a snowstorm the week before that. We didn't even acknowledge it. A foot of snow. Don't get the shovels. Just kick it out of the way with your feet. Honey, where's the scraper for the car? Just drive fast. That stuff will blow off. Don't worry about it. Global warming. 2 years ago, we had more snow than the history of snow. We had like 9 feet in 3 days. People calling from California. Is it still in Boston? Yeah, it is, shithead. Yeah. We only managed to answer the phone because we're shoveling in shifts. Lose my number. Dogs, cats, children were disappearing. Where's Timmy? Where's Timmy? We'll make another one. Close the door. We weren't shoveling sidewalks. We were shoveling roofs. People were jumping out their 3rd floor windows. Mayor Marty Walsh got on TV and said, stop jumping out your 3rd floor windows. Everyone opened the windows. Screw you, it's the only way out of the house. Plow, you bastard, plow. South Boston became a one-way. The whole city, one-way. You went home at night, you had 1 shot. You didn't find a parking space? Screw it, you're moving to Dodger. And everywhere you went, people said the same thing. Oh, it's not the snow. There's just no place to put it. Yeah, there is. Throw it in the ocean. Well, you can't do that. All the bleeding hearts and all the environmental wackos, like the dirty people that work at Whole Foods. Some of you laugh because you know what I'm talking about. The rest of you, I don't go to Whole Foods. I go to Shaw's or Market Basket. Well, let me tell you about Whole Foods. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Eat clean, Lenny, eat clean, they said. So I went in, the food may be clean, but the employees are filthy. They have matted hair, shit stains on their shirt, dirty fingernails. Guy comes up to me and tries to sell me a pint of blueberries for $80. $80? What do you got in it? The body of Christ? So this guy, Tad, says, Mr. Clark, he said, yeah, I'm Tad. I said, how you doing, Tad? I'm an associate here. I said, so you work here and you just gave you some fancy title. Is that what you're saying, Tad? Well, I just want to tell you, I saw your act and I just want to let you know you can't throw snow in the ocean. I said, why not? Because of all the salt and the sand. I said, the hell you think is in the ocean, Tad? Charlie kept the trains going this year. He kept them running. Because 2 years ago, they closed the T. They stopped the subways. I'm not talking about the sandwich shops. I'm actually talking about the subways. And God Almighty, he's trying everything to keep that thing going. But have you been, I don't see a lot of Charlie Pass people up here. The subways, oh my God, there's a whole different kind of creepy people down there. I had people living with me from out of town. I had to get rid of my tree. I'll take them down there on ditch. I got a Charlie Pass. I got them all on. The train doors closed. I looked around and went, oh my God, I'm the best looking person on this train. Here's $1. Don't touch me. Well, you people, you're fantastic. You've got dances. You've got a lot of things coming. I had to go. I had 3 different gigs tonight, but you know, the senator and Mike comes and said, please come up. It's been my pleasure to be with you. But there are places that you go sometimes with your wife or your husband. You really don't want to be there. Tell this joke. They'll ask you to leave, I guarantee you. Kid comes home from school, walks by his mother in the kitchen, walks right into the living room, says, Dad, I think I'm a moron. He said, don't talk like that. I said, you're a good boy. What's wrong? Well, you know, the teachers were asking questions at school the other day. I just can't keep up. I'm falling behind. I don't know what to do. He says, well, run one of the questions by me. He said, okay. What's the difference between hypothetically and realistically? The father thinks about it for a minute. That's a pretty good question. Go out in the kitchen, ask your mother if she'd have sex with a total stranger for $1 million. So he goes out and he said, hey, Mom, would you have sex with a total stranger for $1 million? She thinks about it for a minute and says, you know, son, I think I would. So he goes back, Dad, Mom said she would. He said, okay, go upstairs, ask your 18-year-old sister if she'd have sex with a total stranger for $2 million. So he goes, run up, kicks his sister's door and says, hey, sis, would you have sex with a total stranger for $2 million? She says, in a heartbeat. So the kids always say, Dad, they both said they do it. He said, okay. Hypothetically, we're sitting on $3 million. Realistically, we'll live with a couple of wars.
Thank you, Lenny. It's the best St. Patrick's suit I've ever seen in my life. Now I can say this, there is nothing more Irish than Irish step dances. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce the McGonagall School of Irish Dance. Kennedy owned a dog he loved dearly. One day the dog died, and the mayor went to Father Crane and asked, "Father, my dog is dead. Could you say a mass for the poor creature?" Father Crane replied, "I'm afraid not. We cannot have services for an animal in the church. But there are some Baptists down the road, and there's no telling what they believe. Maybe they'll do something for the creature." The mayor said, "I'll go right away, Father. Do you think $5,000 is enough to donate to them for the service?" Father Crane exclaimed, "Sweet Marian Joseph, why didn't you tell me the dog was Catholic?" Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Honor, the Mayor of Lowell, Edward Kennedy.
Thank you very much. Governor Baker, wherever you are. Senator Donahue, members of the delegation, City Manager Murphy, and Attorney Ryan. It's an honor to be here this evening as the Mayor of Lowell. And before I begin, I'd like to introduce the members of the Lowell City Council who are in attendance. And let me introduce first City Councilor Corey Belanger. City Councilor Rodney Elliott. City Councilor John Leahy. City Councilor Jim Larry. City Councilor Rita Murcia. City Councilor Dan Rourke. And City Councilor Bill Samaras. And also we have several members of the Lowell School Committee, starting with Andy Dakota. And Jackie Doherty. And Robert Gignac. And from the Greater Lowell Regional Vocational High School, George O'Hare. Lowell City Council is always looking for new ideas that will lead to ways to save money, expand the tax base, and provide high-quality city services in a more efficient manner. The quest for new ideas includes reaching out to other communities throughout Massachusetts and other states to see how they manage municipal issues. And as part of that quest, a few months ago, Councilor Corey Belanger and I attended the National League of Cities annual conference in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The annual conference attracts city councilors, mayors, and city managers from all over the country. So you spend 3 or 4 days discussing municipal issues with groups of people from all of the 50 states, and you quickly realize 2 things. First, that every city deals with the same types of issues, and secondly, that the United States is a very big country with a very diverse population. So Corey Belanger and I arrived at the conference on the first night just in time for the opening dinner and the social hour. We ended up sitting at a table with people from Vermont, from Texas, from Utah, and Oklahoma. And during the dinner, we discussed our different backgrounds, and as it turned out, the guy from Vermont and the guy from Texas both owned horse ranches. So the Texan asked the guy from Vermont how big his ranch was. And the Vermonter replied that he bred Morgan horses on a 40-acre ranch near Brattleboro. Mr. Manager, I bet you'd like to find a 20-acre ranch someplace. So the Vermonter replied that he bred Morgan horses on a 40-acre ranch near Brattleboro. The man from Vermont then asked the Texan how big his ranch was. And the Texan responded proudly, "If I leave my house on horseback at dawn and ride all day, I can only get halfway across my ranch by sunset." Almost everybody at the table was impressed, but the man from Vermont just stared at the Texas rancher and said, "You know, I used to have a horse like that, but I sold him and bought a faster one." The next day, we ended up discussing public and private partnerships with the mayor from a mid-sized city in upstate New York. And as it turns out, they have a private sector group similar to the Lowell plan that raises money for different worthy causes in his city. He explained that most of the people in his city were very generous, but there was one very wealthy lawyer from the largest law firm in town that had never donated any money. So last year, the mayor met with the lawyer and said, our research shows that you have a yearly income of over $700,000, but you didn't give even a penny to charity or to any of the community projects. Wouldn't you like to give back to the community in some way? The lawyer thought for a minute and replied, first, did your research also show that my mother is dying after a long illness and has medical bills that are several times her annual income? Slightly embarrassed, the mayor had to admit that he did not know about the lawyer's mother. The lawyer continued, secondly, did you know that my brother, a disabled veteran, is blind and confined to a wheelchair? And furthermore, did your research show that my sister's husband died in a traffic accident, leaving her penniless and with 3 children? By now, the mayor regretted making the call altogether and said, geez, I had no idea. But the attorney, feeling that he was on a roll, cut him off and said, and I don't give any money to them. So why should I give any money to them? And on the following day, we sat at lunch with municipal officials from several different states, including the city manager from a small city in South Dakota. Before long, the topic turned to utility poles and double polling. Double polling has been a chronic problem in Lowell and throughout Massachusetts for many years, and the issue ends up on the Lowell City Council agenda at least twice a year. And apparently it's a problem all over the country. So Corey and I were all ears when the city manager from South Dakota announced to the table that he had started a pilot program in his city that might end double polling forever. What he did was to work out an arrangement with the utility companies that would allow municipal employees to remove double poles and to erect new poles. When asked, he stated that the program was humming along now, but that a few double poles were left. But he added that the pilot program got off to a somewhat rocky start. First, he had to hire new employees, and on the first day, he had 6 applicants. He decided to break them up into 3 teams of 2 and send them out into the field the next morning to see how they performed. He named the teams Team A, Team B, and Team C. He gave each team a truck and 10 poles and told them to go out, dig the holes, and put the poles in the hole. Team A returned to City Hall at noon. The city manager said, how did you do? They indicated they had dug 4 holes and put a pole in each one. But it was very hard work, and they were no longer interested in the job. The second team came back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the city manager said, how did you guys do? They said, we dug 6 holes and put a hole in each one, but we had to stop because we were getting a lot of slivers. The third team didn't come back until just before dark. The city manager said, how did you guys do? They said, we dug 2 holes and put a pole in each hole. The city manager said, geez, the other 2 teams came back hours ago, and they had done 2 or 3 times as many poles as you guys. To which the third team replied, yeah, but you should see how much of their poles is still sticking out of the ground. Sticking out of the ground. There is always a guest speaker at the League of Cities National Conference, and this year, the guest speaker was Hall of Fame Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw. And I should mention that on the last day of the conference, Councilor Belanger, who has become very well versed on the opiate crisis, was co-hosting a workshop on the opiate epidemic with the mayor of Brockton. Anyway, as it turned out, Terry Bradshaw was staying at our hotel. We ran into him in the lobby as he was checking in on the night before the last day of the conference. So Corey and I approached him and asked if we could take a photo with him. Somebody nearby snapped the photo of us, and I was perfectly happy to have photographic proof that we met Terry Bradshaw in Pittsburgh. Maybe he's right there. But not Corey, no. Corey decides to take it to the next level. So he tells Terry, because Corey and I were now on a first-name basis with the Hall of Famer, that he is co-hosting an opiate workshop the next day, and he begs the guy to stop by. telling him how impressed everyone at the workshop would be if Terry Bradshaw stopped by for just a few minutes to talk about the opiate situation in the NFL and throughout America. And I could see that Terry was trying to get to the elevator, but Corey was relentless and shameless. Finally, Terry Bradshaw says, okay, I'll try to stop by tomorrow after my speech. I was amazed and impressed by Corey's fortitude, and I said to Corey afterwards, wow, wait until Mayor Brockton sees who you have stopping by tomorrow. Corey didn't say anything. But the next day, we went to the breakfast to hear Terry Bradshaw speak. And then I went to the opiate workshop with Corey to provide moral support. After about 30 minutes, much to my amazement, Terry Bradshaw comes into the workshop and begins to walk towards the podium, yelling, hey, Corey. And Corey, who was reading off some statistics at the time, looks over at Bradshaw and says, not now, Terry. Can't you see I'm in the middle of an important workshop? I would be remiss if I didn't introduce the person who keeps the mayor's office running smoothly. Please give a big hand to Celine Gettings. And I'd like to close with a little Irish story about a duck, just because I like this story a lot. So, there's a duck that goes into Clancy's bar. The duck walks into the bar, walks over to the bartender and says, do you have any duck food? And the bartender says, no, we don't serve duck food here, this is a bar. So the duck walks out of the bar. The next day, at about the same time, the duck walks back into the bar, walks up to the bartender and says, do you have any duck food? And the bartender says, I told you yesterday we don't have any duck food. And the duck turns around and walks out of the bar. So on the third day, the duck walks back into the bar, walks up to the bartender and says, do you have any duck food? And the bartender says, listen, I've told you twice now, we don't have any duck food in here. Come back again, I'm gonna nail your wet feet to the floor. So the duck turns around and walks out. On the fourth day, the duck walks into the bar, walks up to the bartender and says, do you have any nails? The bartender says, no. The duck says, do you have any duck food? Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone.
I want to introduce a couple of other folks who are here. We have Sam Polton from the Neshoba Technical High School from the committee. The register reads Richard Howe Jr. From the town of Drake, Tony Archinsky, selectman. Middlesex Community College Chair of the Board, Jim Campbell. And we'll go back to some more in just a moment. Did Marty Meehan make it here yet? Okay, well, we'll save that. We'll save that one, Governor. He'll be here. Should I tell the story about Marty anyway, even though he's not here? Okay. So, you know, we all know Marty Meehan. We love him. The president of the University of Massachusetts. And of course, we all know and love Father Nick Sinella, and our best wishes to Father Sinella in his recovery. He had successful surgery, and so we send him our best. But one day, an IRS agent called Father Sinella, and he said to him, Father, is it all right if I ask you some questions? He said, certainly. He said, well, let me ask you, do you know one Martin T. Meehan? Father Sinella said, I do. The IRS agent said, well then, could I ask you another question? Is Martin T. Meehan a member of your parish? He said, he is. Well then, the agent said, I think I'm speaking to the right person. May I ask you another question? Father Sinella said, absolutely. He said, did Martin T. Meehan donate $100,000 to your parish? He said, he will. You gotta know Martin. Governor, we are so glad that you're here. We mean that sincerely. You know, when the governor comes to Lowell, as he does many, many times, he's been a great friend to Lowell, and let's hear it for the governor. Even when it's not St. Patrick's Day, he's been a great supporter, a great partner for all of us here in Lowell. He, as was mentioned before, the most popular governor in the country, not just this year. Last year, most popular governor. This year, most popular governor. And as I mentioned, he brings checks, so I'm not going to take any shots at him. But, you know, and the governor will be running for re-election next year, but 2018 is a long way away. And so there are other things capturing our attention right now. March Madness got started today, Governor. And, you know, this is a tough time for politicians because oftentimes politicians, they want to seem like everybody else and they want to seem down to earth and fill out their bracket. But sometimes politicians don't know a thing about basketball.
I can't believe it. She's going to kick me in the butt.
Yeah. So, but you know, not so Governor Baker. He knows a lot about basketball. He knows a lot. But he actually, though, nonetheless, gave the same amount of thought and consideration to his bracket this year as he did to the presidential election. He left the bracket blank. You know, Governor Baker, you are a rare breed in Massachusetts. A Republican, Dave, am I right? They're hard to find sometimes around here. But this is it. But you know, at one point, the governor had this supporter who was a staunch Republican, and he fell ill and was on his deathbed, and the governor was there, and his supporter said to him, Governor, I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to join the Democrats. And the governor said, what? Why would you do that? You've been a Republican all your life. I don't understand. Why now? He said, well, I'd rather lose one of them than one of us. There aren't many of you, so. Anyway, with that said, please join me in giving a warm Lowell welcome to Governor Charlie Baker.
Thank you very much, Senator, and I just want to say first of all how much I appreciate the chance to join you at this. And I've told many people that this is a wonderful event, and I really enjoy coming. And I actually bet somebody my mortgage that I would never see Marian at this. So if he shows up, that's going to be a bit of a problem for me. Does the Chancellor get my name? No. The Chancellor's not here. I thought UMass Lowell was like part of this community. I only sent the good people. So I can't believe listening to the mayor as he wandered through the events that he and Corey Belanger were part of when they were at that conference. Double polls. I mean, I'm telling you, double polls. I'm a former local official. Karen Polito's a former local official. We fought like mad to get the double polls issue addressed in our municipal modernization legislation and got run over on it. But if you had told me that there was a joke to be had in double polls, my God, you're clever. And I also just want to say how much I appreciate the support that so many of you have shown to us and to our team over the course of the past couple of years. It really has been a wonderful partnership, and I'm going to actually speak to that at the end and say something a little serious. But I do want to tell a couple of quick stories here. The first is, many years ago, maybe 6 or 7, I met Myra Kraft for the first time. And I was introduced to her, and she just kind of looked at me studying me, almost like the way somebody's mom would look at you. And she said, "You look a lot like Roger Goodell." This is 4 or 5 years ago, so I thought that's pretty cool. $40 million man. And maybe a few free drinks. And that turned out to not be such a good thing here in New England. And as I was making my way down to the Patriots parade, and this is absolutely true, I would be walking up towards some of the crowds, and people would go, "Hey, you!" And then I would yell, I mean, they had been there since like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I would be there, and as I got closer, they go, "Oh, hey, Governor." So I get up on the platform to make the announcement that it's New England Patriots Day, and Mayor Walsh introduces me, and there's like this huge boo that comes roaring over the crowd. And of course, by now I know what it is, right? So I say, "Hey, wait a minute, folks. I'm not Roger Goodell. This is Governor Baker." They booed louder. I see Jim Campanini and the gang from the Lowell Sun sitting there in the front row. And he's not taking notes, and I don't see any recorders. Oh, there is a recorder. Never off the record at all. So, I'm not one of the members of the political community that thinks the press is a problem. I actually kind of like the media. Our administration works. Our administration works very hard to make sure that they're aware of what we're up to and what's going on, and we spend a good part of our days trying to move the Commonwealth forward in a positive way, and I know it's the Lowell Sun's job to make sure no one ever hears anything about any of that. I'm counting on them having a really short memory. And of course, as St. Patrick's Day, I apologize for the non-green tie. I kind of blew that, although it wouldn't have gone very well with the purple shirt anyway. But as we all know, as we head into St. Patrick's Day, one of the great things about it is everybody drinks Guinness, and that just seems to be sort of part of the tradition, sort of like drinking eggnog at Easter, and I Christmas. So I'm blowing my own joke. That's Roddy over here. Good joke. Anyway, I even saw President Trump with a Guinness, which came as a bit of surprise to me because he's more of a white Russian guy. All right, now for something a little more serious. I don't get a lot of opportunities to catch up on what's in the news. I try and read when I can when I'm in the car, because of course I'm not driving. I heard some of you laugh when I said that. I text all the time in the car, and I really miss driving, but I do get to do a lot of reading. And literally, as I was coming over here, I was flipping through some of the stuff in the media, and I came across a column that was written by a guy named J.D. Vance, who wrote a book about 2 years ago called Hillbilly Elegy, a Memoir, and it was a story about growing up in southern Ohio and the trials and tribulations of being from the Rust Belt. And it is an incredibly moving and powerful book, and he, through a whole series of misadventures and lucky breaks, he eventually found his way to Ohio State, went to the Marines, to Ohio State, Yale Law School, and was working in California. And the article that he wrote that's in the New York Times is about why he's going back to Columbus, why he's going back home. And he talks about the fact that there have been a lot of studies done about how one of the things that happens when communities get into trouble is some of their best and brightest don't stay, they move away. And the consequences and the impact that that has on those communities goes way past the mere loss of revenue and jobs. And there was a piece in here that I just really wanted to share with all of you because truthfully it reminded me a lot of Lowell. Of course now I can't find it. I recently asked a friend, Amy Kimmener, how she thought about her own return home. A Georgetown graduate, Amy left a successful career in Washington to start a new business in Middletown, Ohio. Middletown is in some ways a classic Midwestern city, once thriving. It was hit hard by the decline of the region's manufacturing base in recent decades, but the town is showing early signs of revitalization, thanks in part to the efforts of people like Amy. Talking with her, I realized that we often frame civic responsibility in terms of government taxes and transfer payments, so that our society's least fortunate families are able to provide some basic necessities. But this focus can miss something important, that what many communities need most is not just financial support, but talent and energy and committed citizens to build viable businesses and other civic institutions. You all know that, and you have done a fabulous job over the course of several decades in making Lowell the community that it is today. Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor, that was terrific. Thank you. The next speaker is my dear friend and former colleague, David Nangle. David was, you all set? David was driving down a Boston street, thoroughly worked up because he had an important meeting and he couldn't find a parking space. Looking up to heaven, he said, "Lord, take pity on me. If you find me a parking place, I will go to Mass every Sunday for the rest of my life and give up chicken parmesan." Miraculously, a parking place appeared. David looked up again and said, "Never mind, Lord, I just found one." Ladies and gentlemen, a true good guy, David Nangle.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And Governor, just for the record, wow, what a difference 2 years makes. If I recall, 2-3 years ago, I was the only one standing for you, Governor. I look around this room, how quickly it takes on. And seriously, he's doing a fantastic job. He and the Lieutenant Governor have been just absolutely fantastic to Lowell, and we owe this administration a great deal of thanks. I just wanted to tell a couple of jokes tonight. I'm going to do something a little different. And Kevin, thank you for that kind introduction. And Governor, the city is having some difficult times right now financially. So the city manager called Tommy Bellegarde, the head of the DPW, and said, "Start selling everything that you have. Get rid of all the surplus tools and trucks and everything." So Tommy Bellegarde called the Lowell Sun, got someone in the advertising department, and asked how much it would be to put an ad in the paper. $10 an inch, she replied. "Why, what are you selling?" "A 10-foot ladder," Tommy said as he hung up the phone rather quickly. Kevin, a little earlier, our good friend Lenny Clark, who was here, and now that Lenny's not here, I guess I can say it. I think he got today, tomorrow mixed up with Greek Independence Day next March 25th. And I think that's okay, but I didn't have the heart to tell him. But one of my good friends and colleagues made a mention of that to him up the hallway, and that was really kind of dumb, Kevin. I thought on your part. But speaking of dumb, Kevin, do you know how to make a dumb person curious?
No, how?
I'll tell you tomorrow. Last and not least, but a young woman came home recently and she was all proud to show her mother and father her new diamond engagement ring. And the father looked at her and said, "You know, I really don't know this young fellow too much. Can you tell me anything about him? Does he have any money?"
And the girl looked at her father and said, "You know, Dad, you men are all alike. He asked the same question of you." But I'm gonna finish with something different this time. I'm not a comedian by any means, and I just want to get serious for about 2 or 3 minutes if I could. Just this morning, I was going through the internet. I came upon St. Patrick's Day Parade 1904 in the city of Lowell. It was posted 2 days ago on an Irish Lowell blog spot by Dave McKeon. Is Dave here this evening by chance? Dick, I know you're a good friend of Dave if he's here, but Dave McKeon is a great Lowellian, a local historian, and a proud Irishman. And I felt it needed to be heard what he shared with everybody on his blog. Dave posted his observations of a short 3-minute film of the festivities, which are cataloged in the Library of Congress and available on YouTube. He wrote, "Thomas Alva Edison had begun sending crews around to record American events. This clip is only 3 minutes long, but says so much. The parade began by St. Michael's Church, down by the Mills, hooking onto Suffolk Street onto Broadway, up to City Hall, down Merrimack Street, and finally ending at the Sacred Heart Church on Moore Street. There were over 1,500 marchers. The city's fire alarm sounded once to let the citizens know who were thronged in the streets. The marchers were on their way. The city police force led the way, many of them on horseback with horses festooned with green carnations. It was also noted the number of bouquets that were carried by many of the marchers. The city had not seen so many flowers before. The officials of the parade rode in carriages. 3 full divisions followed the marshals. Division after division of Hibernians from Nashua, Lawrence, Lowell, and Chelmsford made up the 1st Division. Bands and fife and drum corps played patriotic and Irish airs. The harp that once threw Tara's halls was a favorite of the crowd. Drum majors threw their batons in the air, stirring the crowd. Military and veterans groups marched in formation, dressed in full uniforms and carrying rifles. Mr. McAvoy's jaunting cart direct from Ireland was a must-see. The oldest Irish organization in the city, the Irish Benevolent Association, marched proudly as they had since the first parades in the 1840s. The St. Patrick's Church fire in January of that year necessitated a move to the Sacred Heart Church up on Moore Street, where everyone gathered for Mass following the parade. Following Mass, marchers and spectators alike filled every hall and tavern in the city of Lowell to sing their songs and recite the deeds of their ancestors. They promised themselves that the tradition would continue year after year. And I think Dave McKeon summed that up so beautifully. And as I was reading that, I couldn't help but think of someone in particular. And here we are today fulfilling that promise, continuing that tradition in the city that began when in the 1820s, the first Irish came from Charlestown to build the canals here in Lowell and settle in the acre. Their spirit and memory is alive and well in Lowell these hundreds of years later. And tonight we do well to remember them. But in remembering them tonight, my thoughts also remember another very special person and proud Irish woman. When I think of her, I honestly don't believe I've known anyone who enjoyed and celebrated St. Patrick's Day in the city of Lowell with more pride and fun than Eileen Rourke Golden. Her spirit, smile, friendship, and laughter will be sorely missed. The great Irish spirit, which was embodied in those early Irish immigrants to our city almost 200 years ago, and those marchers and revelers at that great 1904 parade, was certainly embodied in Mrs. Golden. It is only fitting that in her wake tomorrow evening, on her favorite day, her funeral notice had the following. In honor of the high holiday, on Friday, in the spirit of Eileen's life, the Golden family invites you and anyone who stops by to dress as they would as usual on March 17th. No formality is required. As we celebrate this St. Patrick's Day, may we all be blessed with Eileen's true and embracing St. Patrick's Day spirit. And may we always remember Eileen and her and the generations of proud Irish men and women who have made this city and this day special to us here in 2017. Thank you, and may God bless the Irish. Thank you.
David, that was excellent. Obviously, the bond that you, Tommy, and I forged will live forever. You know, it's great to have another, it's tough to be a manager, but to come into another town and grace us with your pleasure. The town manager from Drake, Jim Duggan, thank you. The town of Chelmsford, on the board of selectmen, Pat Roachtis. In a court in Killarney, deep in Munster Island, this conversation is reported to have taken place. The lawyer. At the scene of the accident, Mr. O'Shea, did you tell the Garda officer that you had never felt better in your life? O'Shea, the farmer. That's right, sir. The lawyer. Well then, Mr. O'Shea, how is it that you are now claiming you were seriously injured when my client's car hit your cart? O'Shea, the farmer. When the Garda arrived, he went over to my horse, who had a broken leg and shot it. Then he went over to Darcy, my dog, who was badly hurt and shot him. Then the policeman came across the road, guns still in hand, looked at me and said, "How are you feeling?" I just thought under the circumstances, it was a wise choice of words to say, "I've never felt better in my life." Ladies and gentlemen, the man with the greatest Irish smile in all of Lowell, State Representative Rody Marian.
I know what you're thinking of. I gotta tell you, first of all, good evening. It is truly an honor to be here, Governor. Thank you for your grace and presence here. I gotta tell you, I have no jokes. President Trump got all of it. But I do have one fact, though. Did you know that science just found there are 7 planets that Earth-like habitat? So again, so that means at least 3 questions was asked. And so, does it have air? Does it have water? And Lowell says, does it have a place to build a high school? That's enough land. So, you know, there's a lot of talks about lost in translation. Have I got one for you? Yeah. So, as you know, this is my 2nd term in the House of Representatives, and it's kind of cool that you're there. And so, of course, my wonderful friend decided to post that Rody Mom is on Ways and Means, which is a good thing. The problem is, my friend, who is Cambodian American, he met me and he goes, so let me get this straight. You got your ways and you're mean. Lost in translation. It's a little bit tough, but. So I know that we have to be blessed with the governor here. Mr. Governor, in politics, what do you call a 60-year-old rising star? A Republican. His Republican nickname is the Kid. I just want to share this with you that only in America where we can have this amazing friendship and time on a holy day such as St. Patrick's Day to meet and share with each other and enjoy each other and having the ability to laugh. I am truly honored to be a part of this sacred event, and I'm great to be here. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, Roddy. I wanted to make a couple of other announcements. First, I want to acknowledge and thank our sponsors here tonight. First, the presenting sponsor, Trinity EMS. Thank you for your time. To our gold sponsors, the Lowell 5 Bank, the Lowell Sun, Mahoney Oil, All Sports Heroes, and many thanks to Mike Kunzler for sponsoring our comedian, Lenny Clark. Our silver sponsors, Enterprise Bank, Markley Group, Woodward and Curran, Jean d'Arc Credit Union, and our bronze sponsors, Washington Savings and UMass Lowell. Let's hear it for all of you. I want to acknowledge a couple of other folks who are here tonight with us. We're delighted that all of you are here. But from the town of Tewksbury, Selectman David Gay, welcome. From Dracut, Tammy Distilleris, Selectwoman. Former Mayor, City Councilor Bill Martin. So, our next speaker, let me just introduce, needs no introduction. Marian Ryan has been an outstanding district attorney for Middlesex County and a great friend to the city of Lowell. You know, Marian has not only led this county, but she really has fought the fight fighting opioids and is making a difference here in the city and across this county. And so thank you for your great work on that, Marian. So I thought I'd tell this story. There were 3 Irishmen stranded on an island off the coast of Galway. And as they start to panic, a leprechaun appears and offers each of them a wish. The first man asks for the ability to swim. So the leprechaun transforms him into an athlete and he swims across to the mainland. The second man asks to become an engineer. He too is transformed, builds a boat, and he sails over to the mainland. The third man asks the leprechaun to be more intelligent. The leprechaun, poof, turns him into a woman, and she walks across the bridge to the mainland. We certainly know Marian as an outstanding district attorney, but she's also a career prosecutor, spent her entire career as a prosecutor. But one thing you may not know, early in her career, she was prosecuting a political corruption trial. It's hard to believe, I know, but she was. She was forcefully cross-examining a witness and said, "Now, isn't it true that you accepted $5,000 to compromise this case?" The witness didn't respond, looked out the window. Marian was puzzled. So she repeated the question more forcefully this time. "Sir, isn't it true you accepted $5,000 to compromise this case?" The witness still didn't answer. So the judge leaned over and said, "Sir, You have to answer the question. The witness was startled and said, "Oh, I thought she was talking to you." Without further ado, District Attorney Marian.
Good evening, and I'm acutely aware that I am what stands between you and socializing and continuing with the evening. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to thank both Senator Donahue and the manager for putting this event together. As everyone knows, these don't happen easily. And you know, this is a very stressful night if you have to be up here because you want to try to be funny. So this year I thought that I would make a real effort, and last week I went over to Ireland to try to get some jokes. Unfortunately, and I said I would really take anything. Didn't even have to be that funny. Unfortunately, everybody up here had already been there and cleaned up the jokes. So I don't have too many jokes, but one of the things I did notice when I was there is, you know, you heard a little bit, Eileen talked about her grandmother, and Representative Nangle talked about the folks who came to Ireland. And one of the things you really notice when you're in Dublin is everyone knows how much I love Lowell, but how much Dublin is like Lowell. The river runs through the middle of the city. People spend a lot of their time on the river. There is a world-class university in the middle of the city. There is, and thanks to Governor Baker, soon will be in Lowell, a $40 million state-of-the-art criminal courthouse, which will rival what we have today. There is a fine tradition of women in leadership, as we have in Lowell, and the folks that have, women who have held positions, including President of Ireland. You cannot be in Dublin, as you cannot be in Lowell, and throw a rock without hitting some religious organization or some place to get some Guinness. So when you think about that and you see the diversity, you realize when you reflect on what we talked about of how people came here. And Dublin right now is a very, very diverse city. When folks made their way here from Charlestown, how much they really wanted to recreate home. And when you go to Ireland, you have that same feeling. And often when you're leaving Ireland, if you've been there and you're flying away, you think that was such a great trip, I can't wait to go back. And it really reminds you of the Irish boomerangs. And if you've never seen them, when you throw, they don't come back. They just sing really sad songs about how they'd like to come back. So I'm hoping that I'll get to come back next year. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
You've been great sports. I want to just give a shout out to a couple of people from my office, Kara Keith Mullen for her hard work on this.
Yes, and of course, Karen Moynihan, the real city manager of Lowell.
Thank you all, and have a wonderful night, and do come back next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Sounds good.